So Arun, there's been a lot of discussion about programmatic TV, what that means, advanced TV, addressable TV. There's a lot of expectation. Give us an idea of what that means at Cadreon to IPG, how big that is, and kind of where we're going to go. Not necessarily the problems or the challenges, we know that there is, but it is a small piece of the pie right now. Where are we now, and where do you hope it goes?
So I think firstly we should be clear in setting some expectations. We deliberately stay away from the term programmatic, and that's because it has various connotations, and it's probably not even truly reflective of what's happening in what we call the advanced TV space. And if you look at it, all we're trying to do is we're just trying to take some of the principles behind programmatic, which is we want to buy audiences, we want to plan against audiences, and we don't want to buy space for the sake of buying space. So when you look at everything in that context, all I'm interested in doing is answering a client's question around, have I made a smart decision on my media investment? And why is it smart? B, am I working with the same audiences that the creative agency is working with, the planning agency is working with, and finally, am I executing against the same segment? And lastly, what's the return that I'm getting? What's the value that I'm getting because I'm working with targeted segments? And I think what it means for us is this is the way we expect all media to be bought in the future. And it's less about whether it's biddable, whether it's going through an exchange, whether it's private inventory. I think that's a secondary question. I think the most important point is, are we planning and buying on audiences, or are we still stuck with space? And that's what it means for IPG, because we're looking at what drives value for our advertisers, and that's what they're interested in. And some of the conversations we have with advertisers increasingly are where they say, we don't mind paying a premium, but we need to know exactly what are we paying a premium for and how is it driving the business. And some of the questions that's being asked of TV is the same question that's being asked of digital and has been asked of digital for a long time. I mean, I'm sure you would have seen the news item around the NFL ratings tanking a little bit. So I think you're starting to see a lot of clients now starting to ask us those questions. And so advanced TV to us is very, very strategic for the group. It's not just what part of the business is it, it's how do we take those principles and apply it to all media planning and buying.
What does addressable mean? Where does it stand, and where do you hope it goes?
So I think if you look at it in its simplest form, you want to be able to create those audiences, you want to be able to match those to households, and you want to be able to deliver messages that are relevant to them. So you're addressing them as opposed to addressing everybody. And I think there's a fair amount of progress that's happened, especially in addressable TV, where the number of households that are now household addressable, as you call it, is significant. I think if the last estimate was anywhere between 70 to 90 million households. So I think we've gone past the tipping point on that. Where I think it needs to land into is exactly what you were speaking about, which is cross-train. Because as you know, a household has multiple devices. And you have streaming services, you have OTT, you've got linear TV, and so different members in the household are watching different parts of that. The first step is in understanding the relationship between those devices and the consumption patterns. And the second step is in understanding who's watching what. I think at its very simplest form, though, is even saying what are the messages that we're going to communicate to that household and why. I think that itself is a good first step. And from our perspective, household addressable has been a significant growth area for us. I think as the number of households scale, that's where a lot of clients are going to be focused. I think it's very similar to the pattern that you see in digital advertising, where you see a lot of location-based targeting. You see geofencing, you see strategies where there's dynamic creative that's being inserted depending on which geography you are or which DMA you are in. And I think a lot of that is also driving the growth of household addressable. I think where we're running up against a blockage in the system is really how do you measure cross-stream? How are you going to figure out frequency capping across those multiple devices? I don't think our solutions are there yet, and I'm hoping in the next 3 to 5 years we get to a point where we can actually scale it. And that's why the reference I made in the panel, I think cross-train is the next big opportunity. And if we as an industry are not able to tackle that, it's going to be a problem.
And Arun, finally, tell us a little bit about the role of Cadreon in the IPG world. We see a lot of transitions at media holding companies, the role of what had been traditionally a trading desk or a programmatic unit. What's the scenario there?
So our brief changed about a couple of years ago, where we morphed from being a trading desk into an ad tech specialist unit. And really the role that we see for ourselves is we are the catalysts of change within media brands. Our responsibility to media brands is to make sure that we're able to take the best of ad tech, make that available through the agency ecosystem, work with our clients in not just the programmatic space, but in making more of our media decisions smarter and making it more addressable. And so in many cases we develop platforms which have a programmatic component to it, but it also has non-programmatic components to it. We also work very closely with our data teams in order to make sure that their infrastructure is connected to the wider ecosystem. So I think our role has broadened significantly over the last couple of years. And I know that we still get bucketed in the trading desk area because that's the way, frankly, a number of people in the press view us and a number of the panelists view us. But we've gone past the territory about 2 years ago. We're playing in a much broader arena now. And we're not just about buying, that's the other thing. In many cases, some of the work and some of the products that we develop strictly stay in the data space. It enables some of our media agencies to buy and plan better, and that's really the direction in which we're going.